online, and on your smart speaker. Find your career in civil construction at Wagner Corporation. Now hiring. Visit wagnercorporation.com.au.
Hit News Briefing.
Good afternoon. The Billa family finally home and a beloved Aussie soap coming to its end. It's Friday, the 10th of June. I'm Isabelle Everett and this is your afternoon briefing. The PM is holding formal talks with his New Zealand counterpart today. Our deportation policy, a key topic of discussion. Currently, foreign nationals living in Australia who commit a serious crime are deported back overseas, even if they've lived here their whole lives. New Zealand reckons they can trace back 8,000 criminal incidents to deportees. Anthony Albanese says he's looking at the issue.
We'll be maintaining Section 501, but we've heard the very clear message from the Prime Minister today, as I've heard before, and there could be no argument. The Prime Minister's been very forceful in her views, and there's more work to do.
Our relationship with the Pacific and climate change are also on the agenda. Jacinda Ardern says it's a real threat to the region.
The Pacific region has listed climate change as its number one threat, and that is not out of symbolism. That is out of the reality that right now we already see the considerable effects of coastal erosion, of severe weather events, and of displacement in our backyard.
Home for the Billa family at last. The family of four have just landed in Billo today from Brisbane after 4 years of uncertainty, including time in detention in Melbourne, on Christmas Island and in Perth. Remember the January 6 riots on the Capitol in Washington last year? Well, the US has begun its first public hearing into the attack that saw supporters of Donald Trump attempt a coup in response to his suggestion the 2020 presidential election was rigged. Police officer Caroline Edwards suffered a traumatic brain injury after being knocked over by protesters and says it was chaos.
I can just remember my breath catching in my throat because what I saw was just a war scene. Officers on the ground, they were bleeding, they were throwing up. I saw friends with blood all over their faces. I was slipping in people's blood.
And time's up for Toadie, Dr. Carl and Susan Kennedy. After almost 4 decades on our screens, local soap Neighbours has come to an end. Charlotte Chimes, who plays Nicolette Stone, has reflected on the final day of filming.
There's a lot of emotion, and I'm sure it'll only get, it'll peak as the day goes along. We're all in shooting a final scene together, so that I think will be quite emotional.
Wherever your journey takes you, insist on quality and reliability. Insist on an Australian-made Century battery. Find yours today at centurybatteries.com.au.
In the NRL, and the Raiders have named their origin duo to play against the Broncos tomorrow night. Josh Papali'i was part of the winning Maroons side, while Jack Whiten was the best for the Blues. Coach Ricky Stewart gave an update on the pair this morning.
Guys pretty chirpy this morning. They were in and they had a recovery and a rehabilitation session yesterday, and both in good spirits. So trained this morning and see how they both go. But Pup didn't get as much game time as expected, so he'll be fine. But yeah, Jack's pretty sore.
Tonight the Dragons go head-to-head with the Cowboys in Townsville. Turning to the AFL, and Jake Melksham has required a second surgery on his infected hand. While Simon Goodwin is fighting his own demons, the coach has denied he has behavioural issues and has backed Gary Pert. It's amid fresh revelations about a crisis meeting between the club and the AFL.
It's an irrelevant story. Gary Pert is the complete man of integrity. I've got no behavioural issues. If you guys can join the dots in between all that, then you guys go.
And tonight, Melbourne will celebrate their 150th. Mostly sunny conditions in Toowoomba for the rest of the afternoon with a top of 11. Similar conditions for our weekend, with things not warming up until mid next week. And our listener app is your new home of local news. Download to listen live or on demand now.